Obviously, there's not a magic number that says you should retire exactly at 55 or 62, but science does say this is when it makes most sense to retire early. And I'm going to walk you through what your sweet spot would be, the framework, so that you can understand when you should retire early, or at least know when you're on track to make work optional. Or if you like what you do, you can keep doing it, but you don't feel like you have to. My name is Taublieb. I'm a certified financial planner, host of the Early Retirement Podcast, and I love what I get to do. I help people just like you retire early. Now, check this out. If you look at my screen here, I wanted to define perfect, not as a universal number, but just a sweet spot. So what makes something perfect as the right time? Well, there's 4 things as I see it. Number 1 is, are you financially secure to know that you will not run out of money? Number 2, are you emotionally ready to not see coworkers potentially again, unless you have to reach out and be the instigator? That's what I call myself within my friend group, the instigator. If I don't schedule time with friends, I will not see them. Health. Are you able to do what you want to do? Is your health in a good place? And then finally, are you retiring to something, not from something? Are you retiring from a boss, outlines, having to commute, deadlines, stress? Are you retiring to something? Is it golf? Is it volunteering? Is it redating your spouse? What is it? Now, to better see what your perfect age might be, I thought I'd show you an example. So here's a couple that's 55 and 54. They're planning to work traditionally until 63 and 65, and they wanted to spend $5,000 a month. Now, that's very basic for their goals, but they're very simple people. They actually bought their home and they've paid it off, which is incredible. And I don't see that often, especially with a $2.5 million home. Now, they did receive inheritance. They also, and by the way, I call inheritance the lucky sperm and egg club because I'm kind of weird, okay? But it's kind of funny. So with that being said, you can see these are their assets. They have a 401k with $1.1 million and a brokerage account with $173,000. I call this a superhero account because this is what's going to allow them to retire early, since if they wanted to retire at 56, they couldn't necessarily tap into their 401k unless they use something called the rule of 55. Now, we're going to go ahead and look to see what might make sense for them in their specific strategy. So first thing is understanding legacy goals and desires. Right now, they're on track, if they were to retire at 65 and 63, to have $4.9 million at the end. That might not be their goal. So what if they were to say, we're going to spend double, $10,000 a month instead of $5,000 a month throughout retirement? Well, what you can see is they would be on track. They could certainly do so. There'd be about $700,000 at the end, and that's an option. So their perfect age to retire might be very well 65 and 63. But what if they said, no, $5,000 a month is totally fine. I don't need 10 a month. When should I then retire? Okay, well, if their goal is not to pass away with $5 million, what if they were to say, we're going to retire at 58 and we're going to retire at 57? So I'm cutting a ton of years off their retirement. Yes, there's going to be fewer dollars, $600,000 less, but they're still more than okay, which proves their big value is how much do they want to spend? And I'd want to make sure they're dreaming. And that, what about travel? $30,000 a year, hypothetically. What about healthcare? That could be $20,000 a year until Medicare kicks in. Even with these other things that we need to consider, are they still on track? And you can see here, they're still on track. There'd be $1.2 million at the end. Now, I would argue this is cutting it closer than you would like because the graph is now going down because they're spending a lot of money, but that might not be their goal. Maybe it's not $30,000 a year. So their sweet spot should first start with, okay, how much do they want to leave? Are there specific legacy or estate goals? If not, how much is too much to leave behind? Now, going back to the framework here, so that you can think about this, what are some really important ages to be aware of? Well, I want to make sure you're aware of the rule of 55. This is when you can start pulling from your 401k, even if you're still working. So this person, we're just going to use them as an example, this couple here. Traditionally, they might think we can't retire. Even though we've saved and invested well, all of our money, most of it, is in a 401k. Well, if this person were to retire in the year they turn 55 or later at that company, they can start withdrawing from this account so that they can meet their living needs. There's no penalty, but you still pay taxes. So 55 is when a lot of people will start to consider retiring early. However, for many high earners, it's an option, But for many people who are making sure that they live a very long time, so they want to live until their 90s, you might need a 40 or 50 year time horizon. That's significant, and you don't want to retire too early ever and have to go back to work. 59 and a half is a common age because there's no penalty on IRA or 401k withdrawals. 62, that's the earliest you can take Social Security, but there's a reduced benefit. Age 65, that's a big one because Medicare kicks in, huge cost saving, no more COBRA, no more marketplace. Age 67 to 70 is full retirement age and max Social Security payout. Now, use a retirement timeline if you want to understand cash flow. For example, if you're using the tool that I use for clients, and you can have access to this in the description of this video, you can see under cash flows here, there's a nice summary as to how your income will flow. So you can see salary today, how much goes to expenses, how much goes to taxes, what are they actually taking home, what about into the future, what about just an overall breakdown in a nice simple way to see how is it projected to work by year. And you can click along the path here to see, okay, what would it be like in 2036? Okay, well, we're going to have 90,000 a year, 120,000 of total expenses between taxes and goals and expenses, but there's no money coming in. So we need 120,000 from our portfolio. So being able to go and look on a roadmap and very clearly kind of break down retirement needs, that makes it really, really nice and easy and decreases anxiety. What we then want to do is understand, and by the way, all of what I'm showing you, this is all available in the description of this episode, is what's the most optimal Social Security strategy? Should we collect age 70, early as possible, full retirement age? What's going to leave us with the most money projected based off assumptions? The next thing is health and energy. This I want to really make sure that I'm diving into because we see a lot of people who are worried to retire early because, oh my gosh, they're worried to keep working and they want to retire early because of this right here. If you retire too late, you can't get back your health issues. And sometimes that will eat up your good years where you now can't travel or do what you want to do. A lot of people regret waiting way too long. And it's very rare, if ever, that I hear from people who go, I wish I retired way earlier, or I wish I didn't retire way earlier. This was a comment that someone left here 15 hours ago, Kaiser Suze 41. Not one person I know regrets retiring early. Some had to adjust their spending in certain years, but none were anywhere close to running out of money. Not one has over $1 million in the bank or IRA either. So you don't need millions and millions to retire early. You need to understand your spending and be very clear and honest with it. You can see here, you can highlight stories of retirees who timed it right versus wrong. I'm thinking about interviewing more retirees as guests for my podcast, but as of now, I'm keeping it to just this. And this is the final one, the math versus the mindset. You can see I had a lot of stories planned, but I want to make sure I don't make this a 30-minute video. So financial readiness does not equal emotional readiness. Just because you have 2 million or 1 million or 5 million or 10, that does not mean you're ready emotionally to retire. There's a sense of identity that's lost, and it's very common, and it's not because there's something wrong with you. You're a human, not a robot. The 1 more year syndrome, being very honest with yourself. Fear is a big driver that obviously relates to retirement. And there's a fear of the unknown that causes people to just work longer. I don't know what life's going to look like. Why don't I just work 1 more year? Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to spend my time in retirement with true purpose. I'll just work 1 more project. And they keep pushing it back and pushing it back. So make sure that you're being very honest. Is it financially why you're not retiring early, or is it something else? And then some common myths are you need 5 million to retire, which you don't. Now, you do if you want to spend a very healthy amount and never run out of money, but you don't. It's not a hard and set rule. I'll be bored. I have clients that would be worried about being bored. They retire and they're anything but that. Losing your identity. That's very common. I just know it takes a lot of work to actually go, okay, what do I want in this next stage of life? Hopefully this was helpful to determine the perfect age. It's not 55 or 52 or 60 or 50 or 67. It's based off your goals, what you want to accomplish, but use a framework to really make sure before you retire, you've thought through everything, and you can use this one. Please like this video. If you found it was helpful, please share it with someone you want to retire early with. And then finally, this is what we do here at Root Financial. You can go to our website, rootfinancial.com, and in the upper right, see a little button that says click here to see if you're a fit. If you click that video, if you click that questionnaire, you'll be asked just a few questions, about a minute or so. If you answer those, you'll see what next steps would look like. Finally, this is what we love to do. Thank you for letting me make these videos. See you next time.